We got it.
Get my stuff, Mom.
Down the end of the hall.
Sorry. That's good.
I'd like saying thank you in a special way to the people that help out. It's amazing, everything today was covered and free.
Tall, 8 feet long and 2 feet wide, and thanks to my wife's knowledge of OSHA, they are anchored to the wall. Hammond Lumber came forward and gave us the materials for one of them. And I ran into Jane at an event. She said, I'd like to help out, if there's a way I can help out. And I thought about it. A couple of days later, I'm like, called up Hammond Lumber. I said, if I can get a sponsor to pay for the lumber for the other two, would you honor the same price? And it's like, sure. So this is 2 here, but later on we got 3, and they're like a great big chest of drawers because in each one of those shelves we can actually fit a great big tote and so forth. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Jane Irving. And we had the Harlem Rockets come to Hassan Nelson Jewel with $25 gift card. What I'd like to do now is introduce Thea Day, if she could join us up front.
The services that I actually provide the Bangor area people with in transitioning to housing. But it can also help with a lot more than I can, and I can't assist every single person from every different agency or perspective at all times. So it's very, very complementary. I have some limits, we all do, but when we work together, we can actually fulfill that need, and it's really just fulfilling basic needs for somebody that helps transition them from homeless to permanent housing and give them a comfort level that we should all be able to enjoy. So I got involved a little bit after I heard about that, and have been really wanting to help promote that as much as I can. Part of it is coming up with some sort of guidelines to access this, because it's a great idea and it's wonderful, but you need to have some guidelines in order to actually have a program like this be effective and efficient and work. I keep the donations coming and get the donations to the people who need them. And I give people a voucher to our family store on Broadway for certain items. Again, I can't see every single person, or maybe a situation that is outside of my work hours, but in yours, depending on what you end up doing. So it's another resource that serves very similar items, but has a lot more flexibility to get those, to get other items also. I don't have as much flexibility. Mine is basic needs, and that is it. A bed, silverware, pots and pans, clothing, as far as the voucher that goes to the store anyway. This program can provide lamps. I know that that's needed. Especially in this day and age. I mean, you need the electricity. It's very helpful. Also microwaves. What if people are in an apartment that has a stove that doesn't even work?
Or they don't even know how to cook.
Or they don't know how to cook. We need to eat, and that's essential. So it's very complementary to a lot of the programs that are out there doing this, and it can serve that many more people. So I highly support it, and hope that we can all come together and actually help maintain this program and help it to grow and develop into something even better.
To meet the need, and I'm really grateful for what Chris is trying to do. And I don't need to talk to you about the need, because there's a great, great need. And I don't need to talk to you about it isn't enough that we house people. If they don't have decent materials in their home to live, it affects their self-image. If they've got children, it affects the children. And so while it's great to get them housed, that really is not enough. And there aren't really good services to do that. We spend in Bangor about $2.5 million on housing through general assistance. And the reality of that is they get approved for 30 days at a time, and there's no security deposit. So they're out there with a voucher trying to find a landlord. And some of them have bad history, but even if they don't, they're going to a landlord saying, can I rent from you? I can't guarantee that I'll be able to pay next month, and I don't have a security deposit. But would you rent to me? And so what happens, oftentimes, they get the worst of the worst in the housing that's available. They get what nobody else will take. And it fills a need for the landlord. They have tenants, and they recycle a lot of general assistance people through. But it's really unfortunate. The reality too is, as I said, 2.5 million is spent on general assistance housing in Bangor. That's about 80% of everything that we spend. And it would be higher, the total, except that people are only eligible for a certain amount. And most of that goes to housing. And so even though they're allowed to get food, transportation expenses, laundry, personal hygiene items, they usually use up everything that's available just to get the housing, and they have nothing else left. So then they come to all of you and say, can you help me get food? Can you help me get personal hygiene products? Can you do all those things? So there's a big, big gap, and the gap is going to get more difficult. The other thing that I want to mention, and I always do this, and I know you folks do your job really well, whether you're paid professionally or whether you're part of a faith community. One of the things, in my opinion, that we don't do very well is we don't give voice to the people we serve. We serve them well, and we do the best that we can. But one of the things, if you're going to give an hour of time volunteering to this, give 45 minutes and take the other 15. Chris is not going to like me, or he may like it.
No.
And take the other 15 minutes and find out who your legislators are and call them. And you'll be doing as much with that 15 minutes as you are with the 45 minutes helping people. Because we're really all downstream trying to pull people out. And we got to spend some time going upstream to make sure they don't go in. And we're not doing that very well, and it's more and more difficult. The other thing that I wanted to share is there's misperceptions about general assistance. And the average length of time someone's on general assistance, about 75% of the people that get general assistance are on for less than 4 months. So it very much is a transition program. It's not the sort of the lifetime of kind of feeding at the public trough that some people want to have us believe. There are some that find themselves there that may, from different perspectives, you might say, choose to be there. But that's the vast minority. The vast majority are people that are finding themselves in a tough spot. And doing this can help them, can make a big difference. And one of my frustrations, having been in this work for a long time, is the inefficiency of our efforts. And I'm so optimistic by having so many different organizations in this room together. And I'm going to keep my talk shorter than I might have, because I think it would be more valuable for us to talk to each other than for you to hear from me. Don't nod so quickly, Thea. But it really, really, really is important that we talk to each other. We see the person in front of us, and it's really, really important that we serve that person. But there's many other people just behind them or around the corner. And sometimes, by us taking the time to talk with each other, we can find more effective ways. One of the things that I'm going to mention to Dixie is to connect with Chris, because maybe there's a way, if she's got extra, she can drop it on the way. Or if she can bring it down if they've got an overload. If they've saturated the green and red couch market in Aroostook County, we can take some...
They might be getting some beds next week.
And I know, I mean, in my email, she said that they've got a huge shipment coming from some hotels in Ogunquit that are refurbishing, that is heading to Aroostook County. Well, I know if they get more than they need, they're going to be more than willing to drop a few here. And so I think that's a really, really important piece of all of this. So takeaway, talk to each other, talk to your legislators. There are some really, really draconian cuts being talked about. And I don't want to, I'm not meaning to turn this into political, because it's not. There are people behind every one of those cuts that will be coming to us for help. And I have no doubt that we'll meet that. But it's really a less humane way to do it, too. For people have to find someone to help them. It's not the same as making the help available to them. So thank you, Chris, for the work that you do. Thank you all for being here. And it's really, really important. Talk to each other and talk to people in the community. It's nice to see a couple of business folks here. You know, I think sometimes the view that folks outside of our world have is really distorted. It doesn't help us in the way that they could, and in the long run help them and the business community and the community for all of us. And I think this goes a long ways to make a difference, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Sean. We help each other. And then one day I'm scratching my head, I'm like, wow, made it. Because the compassion of people like you is what keeps us going. The next step from here is to reach out to the businesses, whether it's somebody you see at the supermarket, somebody you do banking with, somebody just to really spread it out the old-fashioned way, like they said on that Crocodile Dundee movie. He said, if we have a problem, we have Wally. And the lady goes, what's a Wally? He said, if you got a problem, you tell Wally. Wally tells everyone in the village, no more problem. What I'd like to do now is introduce Rhonda Savage. Rhonda comes to us from Hope House and Penobscot Community Health Care. And Rhonda's done a lot for us. Come on up, don't be shy. I'll get a better picture up here. This is all the bedding that we had. And if you'll notice, in the little green screen, it says classification and rating. It says for non-stop ninja action. But Rhonda has a great perspective of taking stuff like this and making it all make sense up in Old Town and helping us out at many of the events. Thank you.
Yes. What am I supposed to say, Chris? I don't know.
Let people know what it's like to be, understand both sides of the...
Well, I know Holly and I. Holly's kind of my co-worker at the Hope House, and we've been involved in a couple of different adventures with Welcome to Housing. One was at Martin's, which was in the pouring rain. It rained like, I don't know, it was
Like
crazy.
today.
Worse than today.
Yeah.
And we were out there with Chris in the parking lot collecting goods from people and inside the store and, you know, spreading the word. And it was good. It was a great, I think, great effort that we made, and we got some furniture and things delivered, and so that was a good thing that we did. And then Holly, I think you parked cars too at the concert.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually ended up not doing
Oh,
that.
okay, but there was a concert. and
There
so
was.
There were volunteers that were present there too, and helped raise money for Welcome to Housing, and that money was used to buy, you know, brand new things, which we don't get many donations of. And the warehouse, I kind of take that on as my personal project because I live in Old Town, and for me, I mean, I work at the shelter and it's very intense, and going into the warehouse is very quiet, and you know, there's no one there, and it's just mindless work, and I really enjoy it, sorting and folding, and I know that sounds bizarre, but it's almost like therapy. So I enjoy doing it, it helps, and I kind of keep a little mental inventory of what's happening, what's going on in there, and what we need and what we don't have. And I noticed there was some furniture up there, Chris, which was nice.
It's multiplying. Every time I worry that we're not going to have anything,
Yeah.
somebody calls.
And there's minimal furniture. We need a lot more. We need a lot more donations. We need ways to get things to people. That's been a real stickler because there's not many people with trucks that can transport some of the items to where they need to go. So we really need help. There's just a few of us that are kind of the core group, and we could just use your help in any way you can give it. So if you have a mind to, you know, give a hand, we'll grab the other end of that hand and pull you in. Actually, can help us, so I can use that help.
The other thing we'd like to do is develop a menu of events and ideas for clubs and organizations. How many of you out there know somebody who is in a club or an organization? Next month, we're going to be doing the second annual Winter Whiteout Paper Drive on the 23rd from 10 to 4 outside the store. Coming in October, we'll have our second annual Goods for Good Drive. We do 3 weekends. We do Friday afternoons from about 3 to 5. And then we do 9 to noon on the following Saturday. It gives people a chance to come in and bring things in. This past summer, we also were splitting the proceeds with the Rock Church. Each charity for the parking at Shaw's for the Toby Keith concert, each charity got $1,045. If you know if people would like to make a cash donation, they make the check out to the Bangor Area Homeless Shelter, and in the memo, in there's a note on it, some of the paperwork here. On the memo, just write welcome to housing. And what we have done is we've gone to places like Martin's and some of the dollar stores and so forth and picked up things we need. Can openers are a good example. Best analogy if you're telling somebody about this program, remember your first place. You get in, you have a whole pantry full of food that mom and dad dropped off. You have no way of opening it. So, what I'd like to do now is I'm going to, if I could...
Are you like a grab bag of everything there?